Welcome back to Breakdown. JJ,
Okay.
today is Wednesday, May 31st. You want to talk sports or you want to talk business?
Yes.
Yes. We'll talk SEC Big 10, break them down. Let's do business first.
Let's do it.
Business, JJ.
Yeah.
Last fiscal year, the Power 5 conferences brought in more than 3.3 billion dollars. So that sound like sports or does that sound like a business?
Sports has been a business for a very long time, Dad.
Okay, so we're talking sports and business. Well, the Big Ten led the way, JJ. They had revenues of over $845 million. And in second place, guess who was in second place?
I always know when it comes to money who's going to be top two. You give me one at conference, I know who the other one's going to be. SEC is going to be second.
SEC was second. They were about $43 million behind the Big Ten. They had $802 million in revenues.
Yeah.
Who was third?
Third? Was that the in revenue? I would go. Was that be the Pac-12?
ACC.
The ACC.
Well below the SEC.
Yes.
They were almost 200 million below. They came in at 617 million. But okay, JJ, now that we've talked business,
Yeah.
finance and business, let's get to sports. Conference realignment.
It's the talk of the town right now.
It is the talk of the town. Will it ever stop?
You know, eventually we're just gonna do one big super conference and then it'll stop.
Okay.
But then they'll talk about relegation and should we promote Boise State and should we relegate Vanderbilt? I mean, you know, who knows?
Okay.
It'll never stop. No, your answer is no. It won't.
Well, let's just take conference by conference. Pac-12 realignment. Next year, August 2nd, 2024, they're losing two members, USC and UCLA to the Big Ten.
But those are just small fish. Who cares about the Los Angeles market? Nobody cares about that.
What can you tell me about the Pac-12? What's going? What? How secure is their future?
I think everyone knows it's very, very unsecure. It's been unsecure ever since like the Pac-12 media TV deal never really launched. I mean, nobody really gets the Pac-12 network. Before that they tried to acquire Oklahoma and Texas and came super close to doing so. And had they really been able to do so, that would have stabilized the conference. But now,
Will the media deal happen?
so I think that it will.
Will a competitive media deal happen? One that's competitive with, say, the Big 12.
So if they do something, I think if they do something within the next 30 days, which would be adding San Diego State, I would say yes, that they could make an incredibly competitive media deal. I mean, they still have the Portland market. They still have the Seattle market. They still have, the Bay Area.
Okay.
Phoenix is the fifth biggest city in the country. They have the Tempe, Arizona State, Arizona markets.
So they get San Diego State, which is a large
Huge top 10.
metropolitan. They will still have the California market. So you're saying that the Pac-12 is not dead.
It shouldn't be dead.
What will happen, JJ? The latest news on the streets is that Colorado has been in some serious talks with the Big 12. And if Colorado leave, will there be a domino effect with the other three schools in what they call the four corner states? Arizona State, and Utah.
Yeah, Colorado was a founding member of the Big Seven at the time.
That's true.
In 1947,
Which became
the Big Eight, and
Right.
it became the Big 10, the Big 12.
Yeah,
Which is currently known as.
the Big 12.
So they, I think, have a little bit more camaraderie with the Big 12 conference as they were a founding member. It would be disconcerting, however, because one of the markets I didn't mention was Denver, and Colorado is a huge, that's a hugely growing state.
Okay, indeed it is.
And huge sports state and a very important media market. So I think that it wouldn't necessarily be the death knell to the Pac-12 just because of the history that Colorado has with the Big 12. It would be very disconcerting if that would happen.
Before we move on really quickly, what are the chances that other teams will follow Colorado, if Colorado goes, that other schools will follow them to the Big 12?
If it's in their best interest, then they will. But I think every school right now is going to do what's in their best interest, which is the issue with the conference realignment.
Okay. Of all the Power 5 conferences right now, if you had to be a member of one team, one conference, which conference would you not want to be a member of the Power 5 conferences? All right, let me rephrase that. Which one is the least stable right now?
Okay, because that's a different answer. The least stable conference currently, is it the ACC or the Pac-12? That's a great question. I'm going to go with the Pac-12 because of the timing of their media deal.
Okay.
The ACC has all types of instability as well, and disagreements between certain members of their schools versus others. But they're locked into like an airtight media deal for the next
only until
years.
2036.
Yeah.
And then at the end of 2036, that media deal disappears completely.
Yeah. So they're kind of, I think they would prefer instability. Some of the member schools.
It only costs $120 million to get out if you want to leave that conference.
Yeah.
You can pony up 120. You can say adios.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a bit of an issue.
But basically, we agree that the Pac-12 is pretty unstable. And the Big Ten, JJ, what are the chances that the Big Ten will get some more schools at the Pac-12? If you were a betting man, would you bet yes or no that more than USC and UCLA will come?
Absolutely, they're going to get some travel partners for USC and UCLA.
Okay.
But they're going to do that on their own timetable, and they're going to do that, following their own priorities. I think the Big Ten has not made it a secret the overtures that they would prefer, to get a Notre Dame in. And that might require like admitting a Stanford or some a Cal or some school in the Bay Area that Notre Dame likes to recruit. I mean, that might be a contingency upon.
I tell you, Notre Dame has been holding out. How long should the Big Ten wait?
I don't think the Big Ten should wait on Notre Dame. I think that the Big Ten should do what's in their best interest as well.
Okay.
But I just think that there's a lot of schools in the Big Ten that, might not think that adding an Oregon or a Washington might not be in the best interest of an Iowa or a Minnesota.
Okay. Could potentially. Okay, Jay, let's move on to the ACC. We said that those two are the most unstable of the Power 5 conferences. What's going on in the ACC right now? There's a thing called the Magnificent Seven, and it's not a movie, a Western. Have you heard about this with the ACC and the Magnificent Seven?
Well, yeah, they have the schools that bring things to the table, and then
generate revenue.
Yeah, you have the truck drivers and the truck riders. You have the people driving the bus, and you have the people kind of freeloading it. And I think the Boston Colleges of the world,
they're not the driver.
They're not in the driver's seat.
Sorry, Doug Flutie.
The Syracuses. There's a lot of schools that were added on that aren't.
Okay, but JJ, the ACC, as I said earlier, to get out of that those 7 teams that we call the Magnificent Seven have been talking about leaving that conference. They've been trying to see if they could get out of that, if that media rights deal was ironclad.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it looks like it is. So since they couldn't get out, they pressured the ACC to do another revenue distribution format. It hasn't been ironed out yet, but it's going to give more funds to those teams.
And just for the record, let's discuss which teams we're talking about, the 7 most important for money-generating schools in the ACC.
Okay.
I would assume Florida State would be in there.
Correct. And remember, football rules.
Yeah, I mean, so I assume
Duke would not be there.
Okay, so you're saying that Duke isn't going to be there. I wasn't sure just because it's not just about football. It's also the academic part, and Duke is the best.
We're talking business.
That's
in
true.
addition to sports, we're talking business.
That's true. But Duke does have a pretty huge endowment, and I don't know. They have money themselves.
True.
But that lets me know that Duke is not going to be there. So I'm going to guess North Carolina is going to be there.
North Carolina was one of the teams that has been there. You've already mentioned. What did you mention earlier? You mentioned Florida State.
Florida State.
Okay, Florida State, yes.
Virginia,
yes.
Those are the obvious ones.
Well, you left out the most obvious one in my mind.
in the
We're
ACC.
talking football, generating money, generating.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State is. I think you're gonna say Clemson, but
Yes,
I don't. I'm not sure if Clemson has the value. I don't know. Just with it, with there's being some redundancy in the SEC with it already having South Carolina.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Well, I'm doing say Clemson, and there are two other. One in Florida, Miami.
yeah, I assumed Miami would be there, even though they don't have like the. I mean, they're a small private school. They don't have the infrastructure necessarily, but they're a brand.
The one that surprised me, Virginia Tech.
Now that was bit of a surprise. They didn't even get in the SEC on their own accord initially. West Virginia had a position ahead of them to get in the ACC, and then Virginia's I think governor or some. I can't remember. There was a Virginia politician that stepped in and made sure that Virginia Tech got in.
Okay.
But Virginia Tech is synonymous with football. When you think of Blacksburg, Virginia, you think of the 2000 team that made it to the championship game against Florida State. The Michael Vick years, and you think of Beamer ball and all that.
True.
You think you when I think of the state of Virginia and the sport of football, I think of Virginia Tech before I think of UVA.
Okay.
What about you?
Because we're talking business, I think of those Virginia lawyers. I think of Virginia, and the last of the Magnificent Seven, as they call themselves, is NC State. But JJ.
Yeah, they are in Raleigh, which is a hugely growing media market.
Metropolitan. Okay, really quickly, JJ. What are the two best potential ads that someone can get if they were to pick up one of these? If they were to pick up two of these ACC teams, what two would be the best?
North Carolina and Florida State. The Big Ten or the SEC, no matter what, North Carolina and Florida State is going to have an invite to either one of those conferences.
Okay, I'm going to agree with you on one of them.
Okay, which one is that?
North Carolina.
Okay.
My second one, and I picked this second one because of all the state with the largest population, North Carolina and Virginia are the two states with large populations that are not part of the SEC or the Big Ten. Those are the two out there from the ACC, the two largest out there. Florida, there's already one in the SEC from Florida, being Florida as far as Florida State. So I'm going to go with Virginia, North Carolina. That's just my own personal opinion, and I know you got Florida State and North Carolina, and I hear you there. Let's go to the Big 12.
Let's go to the Big 12.
The Big 12. On July 1, JJ, they add 4 teams to their roster.
Yeah, 4 teams and 4 of the 5 biggest markets in the Big 12 now currently.
Exactly.
Add Provo, Utah with BYU. You had Cincinnati.
Yes.
You had
in Big 10 territory.
Yeah.
In Ohio. So
Orlando, Florida, SEC carrot.
Exactly.
You get UCF, and of course Houston.
Oh, enough said. Houston, fourth largest city in that? Fourth?
I believe it's.
Well, it can't be the third. Either fourth or fifth.
I think it's 4th. It's New York,
Okay.
Chicago, and LA are still ahead.
So Phoenix is fifth. I get Houston and Phoenix sometimes mixed.
No. Houston is 4th, and then Phoenix.
Okay.
And then Philadelphia.
I get Houston and Phoenix confused sometimes as far as population.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Big 12 is on a roll. Will they miss at all? What are those 2 teams that are leaving and going to the SEC? I forget.
The 2 teams responsible for literally half of their income.
Okay.
I think they're going to miss Texas and Oklahoma.
Okay, but they're picking up and they will have Texas and Oklahoma for 1 more year.
Yeah.
So they're going to get these 4 teams, plus they will have Texas and Oklahoma for a year. They're going to have 16 teams this football season.
That's going to be pretty interesting. Big 12 football will be must-see TV for at least 1 year.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But you know what? I think the Big 12 has positioned themselves really, really well. Who's in a better position, the Big 12 or the ACC?
The schools in the ACC are in a better position on average because I think they have a lot more desirable schools. But the Big 12
Let's talk business.
The Big 12 is in the best position because nobody's gonna come after those Big 12 schools for the most part.
Okay.
I mean, that's something the Pac-12 has desirable schools. So does the ACC. The Big 12 honestly really doesn't.
Jose,
So because of that, I'd say the Big 12 is in the best position of any conference that's not the Big 10 and the SEC.
I would agree with you there. Two quick questions before we go to win totals for football. Number one, will the SEC add more teams to the conference realignment? Will the Big 10 add more teams to the conference realignment?
Neither one of those conferences has to. And I think the teams that they will add would be the North Carolinas and the Virginias in the world because of the obvious competition for those universities. I think Oregon and Washington. I mean, everyone knows they're not going to join the SEC. So I mean, the only avenue they have to to come sit at the big boy table is really the Big 10.
True.
North Carolina. I mean, if North Carolina was to become a free agent, every conference in the world would have them. Same thing is true about Florida State. I think you're a little bit more bullish on Clemson than I am, but I mean, I think.
Well, I'm more bullish on Virginia than I am.
Well, I think Virginia. I think you're right. I think you're right that Virginia would also have the Big 10 SEC come calling too.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a footprint in there. I just think Florida State, because of their football success and because of Florida's importance when it comes to producing football talent, I just think that they're different at a different level. But I think either one of those three schools, if they were to be relinquished from the ACC contract and they called the Big 10 or the SEC, they said they would want to come join, they'd be like, hey, let's get you. Either conference would send them a plane ticket. Like, let's get this going right now. I think either conference would take any of those three schools immediately.
Well, JJ, let's talk. I won't change the subject, but let's talk SEC Big 10 win totals in 23 this year. And we're not going to do this justice because we're gonna hit it and get out really quickly. I'm going to give you a team and a win total. You tell me over or under.
Yeah.
Georgia, 11.5.
Ooh, it's hard to say over.
They're playing 12 games.
I don't know who their quarterback is. I'm going to go under.
Okay. Alabama, 10.5 out of the 12 games.
10 and a half.
If they lose 2 games, and you pick over, you lose.
I can't remember when the last time Nick Saban's lost 2 games in a row.
I didn't say it in a row.
2 games, 2 years in a row.
Okay.
Which would be the case if that happened this year. I still don't know who their quarterback is, so I'm gonna have to say under.
Okay. LSU 9.5.
Over. They're gonna win the Big 10. They're gonna win the SEC West.
Ooh.
Over.
Okay, JJ. One last team in the SEC. Arkansas 7.5. More or fewer? Over or under?
I think they have.
They got a new coordinator, defense, offense. They lost 7 starters from their offensive team last year. The defense was worse in the league last year.
And they still have one of the 10 hardest schedules. And I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna say 7. KJ Jefferson propels them to 7 wins, but they don't have a backup quarterback.
America, and I say America because people all over America is watching us right now. Probably people in New Hampshire, Hawaii, or wherever. Take the over. Sell your house. Go with the over. That's just my own personal opinion. Now, you don't have to do that for your own money, but for my money, I'm selling the house and taking the over. Let's go to the Big 10 real quick, JJ.
Okay.
Michigan, 10.5. Over or under. They only got 2 tough games.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over.
So they will win at least one of those tough games. Ohio State, 10.5. They only have 2 tough games.
I'm gonna take the over.
Penn State, 9.5. They only have 2 tough games.
I'm taking the over.
JJ, we get out of here on this one right here. Michigan State, 5.5. Really surprised me that they're that low. Because they got big money mail. Over under.
I don't think they're gonna be bowl eligible. I'm gonna say they're 5-7.
So you're saying under.
I'm going under.
JJ, our work is done here. WPS, Woo Pig Suit. We out of here?
We out.
All right. Okay.